All right, so I'm really excited to chat with Damian Clara from Team Italy, but hopefully soon NHL goaltender if all goes right. It's really interesting to talk to a hockey player from Italy. You don't see it too often, but thanks for joining me. This is exciting for me.
Thanks for having me.
So yeah, as an American, we're following the NHL draft. We're looking at everything. Obvious countries, you see a lot of Canadians, you see a lot of different European regions, you see Russians and so on. We see your name. We see an Italian pop up, and immediately I'm like, all right, this is great. This is awesome. This is the greatest draft pick I've seen in years. Being so passionate about my Italian heritage. What are you thinking at that exact moment? Did you expect to get drafted? Were you expecting to get drafted that high? What are you doing that exact moment when it all goes down?
I started my draft here in Sweden. There wasn't like too much interest, or I knew there were some teams watching, but like there wasn't any buzz about it and stuff. And as the season went along, you start to get more and more interviews, and like I start to realize like it could get real at some point, and then just kept going with the interviews, but I couldn't really order myself in properly until the draft actually happened. I knew that the chances weren't too bad, but I thought I was like maybe a little bit of a lower pick, and so we had a draft party at home in our garden, and we invited some friends and family over. And I told them to come around maybe 6 or 7 o'clock because I thought like maybe get picked a little bit later, and I was already gone there when most of the people came. It was a surreal moment. I saw it on the phone. At one point, just my name was popping up there, and yeah, I was pretty stoked. It took a couple days to realize it fully.
So you were definitely shocked and surprised and didn't expect to go as early as you did then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, when I talked to the assistant GM of the Ducks, they were looking at trends in the draft to see when other goalies would be taken, and you were already on their board. So second round for their first pick in the second round, very high in that round is incredible. No matter who you are, no matter what country you're from, pretty special. So that's really great. Um, Obviously, I want to talk a lot about just Italy and playing hockey in Italy and growing up there, and it's not the norm. And I'm super involved with Italian baseball, believe it or not, the Italian American Baseball Foundation, and we work very closely with the Federation of Italian Baseball and Softball. That's also something that's not mainstream. It's soccer, it's basketball, it's racing. Where do you get this bug and this itch to play hockey? When does it all start for you?
So I'm from the region South Tyrol in Italy. So it's way up north in the mountains, and we actually do have quite a hockey culture there. So there's a lot of team, and it's actually a quite normal thing to do there to play hockey when you're young. Obviously, soccer is still number one. You got the skiing part, winter sports, but hockey is there too. So my dad basically signed me up for hockey because he's a big hockey fan, and that's how it started. To be honest, I didn't like it. My first 3 years, I backed him to quit hockey and like just play soccer and go skiing in the winters. And at some point, we didn't have a goalie, so I thought, well, I might just try it to get a net one day. And it's like from the first day when I went to net, I knew that's what I'm gonna do for the rest of my sports career, probably.
And so, my initial question that I was going to ask about was, is it difficult to find a rink or ice time? But as you're saying, in the north, it's different. It's more common than not. So how often were you playing? Was this something that became part of your everyday? Were you doing it recreationally with friends? What explain to the average person, especially in America, that doesn't know the youth hockey system there? How is it structured, and how much exposure did you get?
Course. So in the winters, it's very cold, so we have outdoor rinks. So that's usually how you start. You start by a rink, playing outside with friends on frozen small lakes or even like artificial outdoor fields. And yeah, we do have a hockey team. They played semi-pro. It's called Hatse Pustatal, Valpusteria. They are in the ice league now, which is fully pro. So there's a rink, there's following, and it's built up like most of European, also big organizations. just maybe not as high of a level everything, but they really do take big steps all the time and try to make it as better and better. So it's quite a normal youth organization in European hockey. You go 3 times a week when you're like under 10, and then you start practicing almost daily to 5 times a week and play some games. And yeah, it's a full-time sport.
And as a kid, are you starting to follow NHL games? Did you start to look at what's going on in America? Did you have a favorite team or player? When did that all start to kind of come about for you?
Not really. I followed more of the league that was local. I went to the games with my parents or with some friends, and really followed the local league, which was the Italian league and the Alps league at the time. But I saw some clips of NHL goalies the whole time, and I always loved watching Jonathan Quick with the LA Kings. And one day also I got a jersey. Someone gifted me a jersey of him, and I practiced in that and in the youth practices.
Awesome. That's awesome. And then, it seems like your trajectory really took off when you went to Austria, when you got in that Red Bull organization, and you're getting a lot of visibility at that point because, you have the rest of the European scouting system all floating around. I mean, you were what, 13 years old when you left home to do that? And it's a very important age. You're still growing and developing, and leaving home is a big step. How did you and your family make that decision, and what did that mean for your overall growth?
So for me, it was pretty clear that I want to pursue this sport further in combination with education. So there was different ways we could do this. Talk to my parents a lot, and the year before, there's actually two Italian players as well who went through Red Bull Academy with Tommy Podella and Fabian Chiesa. And I talked a little bit to them like how it is and stuff, and then I just signed up for a tryout. I didn't get any answer at first. Got a tryout, and they accepted me. Was the core moments. I really remember that one when I got the letter that they accepted me. Because it's not that easy to go away when you're 13 from home, but there's a bunch of other kids who are in the same boat, so to speak. So you bond pretty quickly. And for me, also growing up with two languages, which is Italian and German, so it made the transition pretty easy to go to Austria, for I could speak German directly with them.
And you grew up speaking German?
Yeah, in South Tyrol, it's three official languages. It's Italian, it's German, and it's Latin. It's an old language. It's almost like an Italian dialect, but you can't understand if you don't know it.
And your English is very clear, so you're proficient in four languages. It's pretty cool.
I
uh,
don't speak Latin though. I don't speak Latin.
that's tough. Yeah. The the um the technique, your goalie technique, you're learning. Again, you're 13, 14 years old. What are you starting to pick up? How did that system and that experience start to change your actual abilities in the net?
I learned some technique when I was in Italy. We did have some goalie coaches, which came maybe once a month. And in summertime, I did some camps with some, since 2016, I did almost every year with Jim Corsi. He's also an Italian Canadian goalie coach from who mainly was in the NHL a lot of the years. So he had a camp in Cortina, which I went to every year, which learned me a lot. But then in Salzburg, it was like a really big difference because we had a goalie coach every ice time. Um, so that helped a lot. In the first years, it's just more like getting a better skater and being better with techniques. And then my last year in Austria also really started to look at the game plan and get some more advanced goalie stuff with how you handle certain situations and what are the options. Kind of developing a game plan.
And so obviously as you're growing literally physically, you're getting better in that, you're getting more confidence. Then you make a decision to go and play in Sweden. And that's the course of action for you. Why Sweden? How did that come about? And again, how much more did you grow in that situation?
So Sweden's a whole different situation again, because in Salzburg you have boarding school, you have a whole system, and in Sweden you're kind of by yourself. You get an apartment and everything. You live by yourself. You live kind of like a pro. Um, but it came together that I had a Swedish goalie coach my last year in Red Bull. So that's how the contact started. And at the end of the year, kind of went through my options. It's the draft years coming up that was already a little bit on my mind, although it seemed very far away. But I just know I wanted to get in one of the best junior leagues, preferably still in Europe. And then Sweden was on top of the list, and he gave me that contact. I flew up, watched everything, like took a trip to Karlstad to visit Feres de Beko, and then it was pretty clear for me I want to come here, and it seemed like an awesome organization from first, and I wouldn't change it. It's been an awesome year. Also, a lot of personal growth, kind of trying to handle yourself, cooking the clean. It's actually a lot more to think about when you kind of come out from home.
And you're 6'6", you're big, it's tall, no matter what position you are on the ice. Obviously, you see a lot of defenders that are 6'5" and bigger. Um, is that an advantage for you? Do you see, you don't have a choice anyway, but how do you adapt your game to your size, and how does your wingspan help? And would you describe yourself as a butterfly goalie that, goes on your knees and covers the whole net? Talk about your size, but also talk about your style of goaltending.
So I like to play a pretty athletic game, trying to move a lot, but obviously with your size, you have to be a little bit smarter because movements are harder for bigger goal, better shoulder, you cover more net, but you need to play smarter as well to cover your holes. The bigger you are, the bigger your holes are as well. So you need to be aware of that. And micro adjustments are very important, which doesn't always come as easy for me. So size is a big advantage. It can be a disadvantage in some things, but you need to learn to control it. And if you're young, I think one of the biggest things is to control your body. Maybe a little bit later with your physical development because you're tall, which means that the gym is more important, and you need to learn to control the size as well.
And you've been playing for
Sorry.
Team Italy as well. You're good. I mean, I hear you. Good. And you've been a goalie for Team Italy, playing for your country, representing your country at different age groups. You're one of the youngest players to play in the World Championship in 80 years. There's some ridiculous, number about that, which is awesome. What does it mean for you to play for Italy? What does it mean to represent your homeland?
Well, obviously, every time you put on the jersey, it's a special moment. I remember putting the first time the practice jersey on with Italy on there, so it was a special feeling. That's a memory for sure. Stay with me. But it's at the other side. It's also important. Like if I play in Sweden as an Italian, I have to represent the Italian hockey as well, and kind of give it a little bit of a push. I hope I can maybe be a role model for some young players in maybe 10, 12-year-olds to say I want to play on some high level as well one day. So that's one of my biggest dreams, to kind of push the hockey at home a little bit further. Just trying to get as far as possible and to be a little of a role model for that as well.
Yeah, but, I know you'll be a role model for Italian Americans too. That there will be a whole country here of Italians in America rooting for you, because it's rare. And then I'm sure the names Tom DePauli and Luca Spisa and Victor Posa. Those are all players that have not goalies, obviously, but born in Italy and represented Italy. Some of them had cups of coffee, quick, or I should say, cups of espresso, quick, experiences in pro hockey. But you're the first goalie that could be in the NHL to be born in Italy, and so there's going to be a lot of people rooting for you. And what are your goals? How do you break this down? Obviously, you have to play in Europe for at least another year, maybe longer. Still getting bigger, stronger, and faster. But how are you starting to formalize and crystallize your path? And are you manifesting sort of a journey for yourself to make sure you can get to the NHL?
Obviously, need to have a plan of some kind. I think for a goalie, and also with my size, it's a journey. It's for sure. I give myself at least 5 years until I've something to do over there. to be honest. So I think the best thing for me is to stay in Sweden and try to establish as a starter at one point. So I'm starting off in the second league right now. Awesome organization with Brynäs. It's going to be a great year. I'm really looking forward to it. A lot of practice times and awesome goalie partner with Anders Lindbeck. I can learn a lot from him, veteran.
Mm-hmm.
And then at some point, hopefully crack a starting spot in the big league in SHL in Sweden with the Färjestad team, which loaned me out here. So that's for sure the goal in the next couple of years for me. And then there's the Olympics coming up, 2026, which is also very, very special for me. I really want to be part of the team. So that's also one of my goals, to be part of the Olympic team.
And so it's good. You have it mapped out. You know what the plan is. These things take time, but as the years go by, your visibility hopefully will get stronger. And I guess one of the harder things is to get drafted. So you have that done. Now you're affiliated with the pro team, obviously in the NHL. You're going to grow and get bigger and faster in Sweden. Hopefully you'll keep representing Team Italy, which will raise Team Italy's stock as your stock grows. So this is going to be an exciting path and journey, and we're going to be following you, rooting for you as Italian Americans. And I wish you nothing but the best. I hopefully we'll keep in touch as you expand and grow. And I hope when you're playing, the Ducks are playing the Islanders here sometime in New York. I hope to see you in the next 5 to 7 years, whatever the trajectory is. So I appreciate your time and what you stand for and representing all of us.
Thank you. Appreciate it. It's just a starting point. It's going to be a long journey, but I'm going to give it all.